The phone rang at 11:47 p.m., and I knew, the way you just know, that nothing good comes from a call that late. My hand shook as I reached for it. The number was blocked. I should have let it ring. I should have rolled over and pretended I never heard it. But when you're 73 years old and living alone in a house that creaks with every gust of wind, you answer. Because what if it's the hospital? What if something's happened to Clara or Nathan? Hello? My voice came out small, swallowed by the darkness of my bedroom. Static crackled on the other end. Then a woman's voice, calm and cold. Mrs. Whitmore, I need you to stay very calm. Who is this? There's been an incident at your residence. I'm calling to inform you that. An incident? What do you mean? I'm right here, in my house. Nothing's happened. Mrs. Whitmore. The voice cut through my confusion like a blade. The police are already at your location. For a murder. My heart stopped. Actually stopped. The room spun, and I gripped the edge of my nightstand to keep from falling out of bed. That's impossible. I'm alone. There's no one here. There's no. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family, enjoy the story. A crash shattered the silence downstairs. Glass. Something breaking. Something falling. I froze, phone pressed to my ear, listening. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Moving through my kitchen. Hello? I whispered into the phone. Hello? Are you still there? The line went dead. My breath came in short, panicked gasps. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. I was dreaming. I had to be dreaming. But the cold sweat on my skin felt too real. The sound of those footsteps climbing my stairs felt too real. I fumbled for my cell phone on the nightstand, nearly dropping it twice before my trembling fingers managed to unlock it. 911, I had to call 911. The stairs creaked. Closer now. Someone was coming up to my bedroom. 911, what's your emergency? Someone's in my house, I choked out, barely able to form the words. Please, someone broke into my house, they're coming up the stairs, I need. Ma'am, we already have units at your address. My blood turned to ice. What? Officers are already on scene at 47 Lakeview Drive. They responded to a call about a murder approximately 8 minutes ago. The footsteps stopped. Right outside my bedroom door. The doorknob began to turn. And that's when I understood, whoever was on the other side of that door wasn't a stranger at all. Would you have called 911 too, or trusted that strange voice? Let me know in the comments below. I met Harold Whitmore when I was 22 years old, working the counter at Miller's Diner on 5th Street. He walked in wearing a suit that probably cost more than I made in 3 months, ordered black coffee, and smiled at me like I was the only person in the world. That smile. God, that smile could make you forget your own name. You're too pretty to be serving coffee, he said, leaving a $20 tip on a $2 check. 3 months later, we were married. Everyone said I was lucky. Harold Whitmore, the successful lawyer with the big house on Lakeview Drive, choosing me. Plain Eleanor Davis from the wrong side of town. I thought I'd won the lottery. The first year was perfect. Flowers every Friday. Dinners at expensive restaurants where I didn't know which fork to use. He'd laugh and whisper, just follow my lead, darling. And I did. I always did. The second year, things shifted. Small things at first. He didn't like my friends. Said they were beneath us now. He chose my clothes because I didn't understand what was appropriate for a woman of my position. He handled all the money because I wouldn't know what to do with it anyway. By the third year, I wasn't Eleanor anymore. I was Harold's wife. Harold's possession. Harold's mistake. No one else would want you, Eleanor, he'd say softly, stroking my hair after making me cry. You should be grateful I stay. And I believed him. For 47 years, I believed him. We had 2 children. Clara, beautiful and sharp like her father. Nathan, quiet and calculating. They learned early that Daddy's word was law and Mommy was just the woman who cooked dinner and kept quiet. Harold never hit me. Not once. That's what made it so hard to explain. How do you tell someone you're being destroyed when there are no bruises? When the weapon is just words, just looks, just the slow erosion of everything you used to be? I became a ghost in my own house. Walking through rooms where I didn't matter. Sitting at a table where my opinions were jokes. Sleeping next to a man who made me feel like I was nothing. Then, 15 months ago, Harold fell down the stairs. That's what the police report said. An accidental fall. Tragic. The successful lawyer, 75 years old, losing his footing on the steps he'd climbed 1,000 times before. I was the one who found him. Called 911. Cried at the funeral. Played the grieving widow perfectly. Because that's what I'd been trained to do. Perform. Pretend. Survive. But here's the thing nobody asked. Here's the question that never came up during the investigation or at the funeral or in all the months that followed. Why was Harold wearing his slippers that night when he always wore his house shoes with the rubber soles? The ones that gripped. The ones that were safe. Where did those slippers come from? The smooth-bottomed ones that I'd placed carefully by his side of the bed that evening. Have you ever seen someone hide evil behind a smile? Drop a heart emoji if this part hit you. I thought freedom would feel different. After Harold died, I imagined waking up without that weight on my chest. Breathing without permission. Being Eleanor again, whoever she was under all those years of being told I was nothing. Instead, I got something worse. I got my children. Clara showed up the day after the funeral with a lawyer. Not to comfort me. Not to grieve with me. To talk about the will. Mother, we need to discuss the estate, she said, sitting in Harold's chair like she owned it. Like she owned everything. Nathan stood by the window, arms crossed, avoiding my eyes. Your father just died, I said quietly. Can't this wait? Clara's laugh was cold. Just like her father's used to be. Wait for what? For you to give it all away? For you to make another stupid decision? Stupid. That word. Harold's favorite word for me. I'm not giving anything away. I'm your mother. This is my home. Technically, Nathan finally spoke, his voice flat, it's our inheritance. Dad built this. You just lived in it. I stared at my son. My baby boy who I'd rocked to sleep every night until he was 5. Who I'd driven to soccer practice and made lunches for and loved with everything I had. He looked at me like I was an obstacle. A problem to solve. Over the next few months, they circled like vultures. Phone calls about managing my finances. Suggestions that I was getting confused. Hints that maybe I should sign some papers, just to make things easier, just to protect everyone. Clara brought forms. Power of attorney. Transfer documents. Things I didn't understand but knew I shouldn't sign. You wouldn't know what to do with that kind of money anyway, Clara said, her voice dripping with pity that wasn't real. Let us handle it. We're trying to help you. But I saw it in their eyes. Greed. Impatience. The same look Harold used to get when I questioned him. They wanted me gone. Not dead, maybe. Just erased. Tucked away in some nursing home where I couldn't access Harold's fortune. where I couldn't interfere with their plans. I tried calling Nathan one Tuesday afternoon. Left 3 messages. He never called back. I stopped by Clara's house the following week. She wouldn't let me in. Said she was busy. Said we'd talk later. Later never came. The town started whispering. I'd hear it at the grocery store, in the pharmacy line. That's Eleanor Whitmore. Poor thing. Losing her mind since Harold passed. Her kids are so patient with her. Losing my mind. That's what they were telling people. Building a story. Creating a narrative where I was the confused old widow who needed to be managed. Controlled. Removed. It was Harold all over again. Except this time, it was my own children holding the knife. I stopped sleeping. Started jumping at shadows. Wondered if maybe they were right. Maybe I was losing it. Maybe I was the problem. Then Nathan stopped calling altogether. And the whispers got louder. If your own family turned on you, what would you do? Comments stay strong, Eleanor, if you're still with me. I started walking by the lake every morning at 6. Not because I wanted to. Because I couldn't stand being in that house anymore. Every room echoed with Harold's voice. Every corner held a memory of my children's betrayal. The walls felt like they were closing in. So I walked. Same path. Same time. Trying to remember who I used to be before I became someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's burden. That's where I met Detective Isaac Tate. He was sitting on the bench by the water, feeding ducks, wearing jeans and a jacket that had seen better days. Didn't look like a detective. Looked like someone who'd given up on trying to impress people. Mind if I sit? I asked, too tired to keep walking. He gestured to the empty space. Free country. We sat in silence for a while. It was nice. No questions. No judgment. Just 2 people watching the sun come up over the water. I'm retired, he said finally. 28 years on the force. Thought I'd enjoy it more. Retirement? Being useless. He tossed another piece of bread to the ducks. Turns out, I'm not good at it. I laughed. Actually laughed. Couldn't remember the last time I'd done that. Eleanor Whitmore, I said, extending my hand. He shook it. His grip was firm. Steady. Isaac Tate. And I know who you are. My stomach dropped. You do? Your husband's death crossed my desk before I retired. Accidental fall. Case closed. He looked at me then, really looked at me. But I've been doing this job long enough to know when something doesn't sit right. I should have walked away. Should have kept my mouth shut. But I was so tired of carrying it all alone. What doesn't sit right? A man who climbed those stairs every day for 30 years suddenly falls? Wearing slippers that weren't his usual shoes? He paused. And a wife who looked relieved at the funeral instead of destroyed. My breath caught. I didn't. I'm not accusing you of anything, Mrs. Whitmore. I'm just saying I notice things. He stood up, brushing crumbs off his jeans. And lately, I've been noticing a pattern. Elder abuse cases. Children draining their parents' accounts. Families turning on the people who raised them. He handed me a card. Plain. Simple. Just his name and a phone number. If you ever need someone to notice things with you, call me. 3 days later, I called. We met at a coffee shop 2 towns over where nobody knew my face. I told him everything. Clara's lawyers. Nathan's silence. The forms they wanted me to sign. The whispers around town about me losing my mind. Isaac listened without interrupting. Took notes. Asked questions that made me realize just how calculated my children had become. You're not losing your mind, Eleanor, he said quietly. You're being gaslit. Systematically. And if we don't do something, they'll succeed. What can I do? They're my children. I can't. You can protect yourself. His eyes were hard now. Focused. You can fight back. But it has to be smart. Quiet. We build a case they never see coming. I thought about Harold. About 47 years of being small. Being quiet. Being nothing. What do you need from me? He leaned forward. I need you to trust me. Can you do that? I looked at this stranger who saw what my own family refused to see. Who believed me when everyone else thought I was confused. No, I whispered. I don't trust anyone in that house. Good, Isaac said. Then let's make sure they can't hurt you anymore. Sometimes, a stranger sees what your family hides. Would you trust him?
For the next 2 months, I became someone I didn't recognize. Isaac taught me how to record conversations without being obvious. How to document everything. Times, dates, exact words. He showed me where to hide a camera in my living room, so small you'd never notice it unless you knew where to look. Evidence, he said. That's all that matters now. Not emotions. Not fairness. Just cold, hard evidence. Clara came by every Thursday like clockwork. Always with papers. Always with that same patient voice she used when talking to children or confused old people. Mother, you really should consider this nursing facility. It's beautiful. You'd have your own room, activities, people your age. I smiled. Played the part. I don't know, dear. This is my home. But you're all alone here. What if something happens? What if you fall like Daddy did? The way she said it. Like a threat wrapped in concern. I recorded every word. Nathan was harder to track. He'd stopped visiting altogether. But Isaac found something better. Bank records. Transfer requests. Forged signatures on documents I'd never seen. My own son had been stealing from me for months. They're setting up a conservatorship, Isaac explained, spreading papers across my kitchen table. They'll claim you're incompetent. Get control of everything. You'll have no access to your own money, your own decisions. They'll own you. Just like Harold had. But this time, I had a plan. Isaac helped me open a new account at a different bank. Transferred half of Harold's estate before Clara and Nathan could touch it. Created a second will, legally binding, witnessed and notarized by people they'd never met. When the time comes, Isaac said, they'll destroy themselves. You won't have to do anything. Just wait. I practiced being weaker. More confused. I'd forget conversations on purpose. Repeat myself. Leave the stove on once or twice when Clara was visiting. Let her see exactly what she wanted to see. A helpless old woman who needed to be managed. Meanwhile, every conversation was recorded. Every forged document was copied. Every lie was catalogued and dated and stored in a safety deposit box 2 counties away. Clara brought her lawyer again. Mr. Patterson, with his expensive suit and his condescending smile. Mrs. Whitmore, I need you to sign these papers. It's just a formality. To protect you. I held the pen, hand shaking just slightly. Not from fear. From rage I'd been swallowing for months. What do they say? Nothing important. Just transfer some of the financial responsibility to Clara and Nathan. So you don't have to worry about it. Isaac had warned me about this moment. They'll make it sound simple. Safe. But those papers give them everything. I set the pen down. I need to think about it. Clara's smile tightened. Mother, we've been over this. You can't keep managing everything yourself. You're getting confused. Last week you left the stove on. What if there's a fire? What if you hurt yourself? I looked at my daughter. Studied her face. Tried to find some trace of the little girl I'd raised. The one who used to curl up next to me and ask for bedtime stories. She was gone. Had been gone for years. Maybe she'd never existed at all. I said I need to think about it. After they left, I sat in the kitchen with Isaac, listening to the recording. They're getting desperate, he said. Desperate people make mistakes. I thought about Harold at the top of those stairs. About the slippers I'd placed so carefully. About the small decision that had changed everything. They'll destroy themselves, I said quietly. We just have to wait. Isaac looked at me for a long moment. Eleanor, what exactly are we waiting for? I didn't answer. Because some things are better left as questions until they become facts. This is where quiet justice begins. Would you do what Eleanor just did? The night it happened, I was in my bedroom reading when I heard them arrive. Clara's car. Then Nathan's truck. Both pulling into the driveway at 10:30 on a Wednesday night. Unannounced. Unexpected. My heart started racing. This wasn't normal. They never came together anymore. Hadn't spoken to each other in weeks, according to Isaac's information. I heard the front door open. They had keys, of course. This was still technically their father's house in their minds. Voices drifted up the stairs. Angry voices. Clara and Nathan, arguing about something. I crept to the top of the landing, staying in the shadows where the camera Isaac installed could see everything but they couldn't see me. You've been stealing from the accounts, Clara hissed. Don't lie to me. I saw the transfers. You're one to talk, Nathan shot back. What about the forged power of attorney you tried to file last month? That was for her protection. That was for your bank account. Admit it. You want her declared incompetent so you can take everything. Like you don't? Silence. Heavy and ugly. Then Clara's voice, quieter now. Calculated. We could split it. 50-50. If we work together instead of against each other. What about Mother? What about her? She's losing her mind anyway. Everyone in town says so. We put her somewhere safe, somewhere supervised, and we manage the estate like Daddy would have wanted. I gripped the railing, listening to my children negotiate my erasure like a business deal. She won't sign, Nathan said. I've tried. She's stubborn. Then we make her sign. Or we prove she can't make decisions for herself anymore. Either way, we need to act now before she does something stupid with the money. That's when I made my move. Walked down the stairs slowly, deliberately, like a fragile old woman who'd been startled awake. What are you two doing here so late? They both jumped. Guilty faces. Fake smiles sliding into place. Mother, we didn't mean to wake you, Clara said. We just came by to check on you. At this hour? We were worried, Nathan added. You haven't been answering your phone. For the next 2 months, I became someone I didn't recognize. Isaac taught me how to record conversations without being obvious. How to document everything. Times, dates, exact words. He showed me where to hide a camera in my living room, so small you'd never notice it unless you knew where to look. Evidence, he said. That's all that matters now. Not emotions. Not fairness. Just cold, hard evidence. Clara came by every Thursday like clockwork. Always with papers. Always with that same patient voice she used when talking to children or confused old people. "Mother, you really should consider this nursing facility. It's beautiful. You'd have your own room, activities, people your age." I smiled. Played the part. "I don't know, dear. This is my home. But you're all alone here. What if something happens? What if you fall like Daddy did?" The way she said it. Like a threat wrapped in concern. I recorded every word. Nathan was harder to track. He'd stopped visiting altogether. But Isaac found something better. Bank records. Transfer requests. Forged signatures on documents I'd never seen. My own son had been stealing from me for months. "They're setting up a conservatorship," Isaac explained, spreading papers across my kitchen table. "They'll claim you're incompetent. Get control of everything. You'll have no access to your own money, your own decisions. They'll own you. Just like Harold had. But this time, I had a plan. Isaac helped me open a new account at a different bank. Transferred half of Harold's estate before Clara and Nathan could touch it. Created a second will, legally binding, witnessed and notarized by people they'd never met. When the time comes, Isaac said, they'll destroy themselves. You won't have to do anything. Just wait. I practiced being weaker. More confused. I'd forget conversations on purpose. Repeat myself. Leave the stove on once or twice when Clara was visiting. Let her see exactly what she wanted to see. A helpless old woman who needed to be managed. Meanwhile, every conversation was recorded. Every forged document was copied. Every lie was catalogued and dated and stored in a safety deposit box 2 counties away. Clara brought her lawyer again. Mr. Patterson, with his expensive suit and his condescending smile. "Mrs. Whitmore, I need you to sign these papers. It's just a formality. To protect you." I held the pen, hand shaking just slightly. Not from fear. From rage I'd been swallowing for months. "What do they say?" "Nothing important. Just transfer some of the financial responsibility to Clara and Nathan. So you don't have to worry about it." Isaac had warned me about this moment. They'll make it sound simple. Safe. But those papers give them everything. I set the pen down. I need to think about it. Clara's smile tightened. "Mother, we've been over this. You can't keep managing everything yourself. You're getting confused. Last week you left the stove on. What if there's a fire? What if you hurt yourself?" I looked at my daughter. Studied her face. Tried to find some trace of the little girl I'd raised. The one who used to curl up next to me and ask for bedtime stories. She was gone. Had been gone for years. Maybe she'd never existed at all. I said I need to think about it. After they left, I sat in the kitchen with Isaac, listening to the recording. "They're getting desperate," he said. "Desperate people make mistakes." I thought about Harold at the top of those stairs. About the slippers I'd placed so carefully. About the small decision that had changed everything. "They'll destroy themselves," I said quietly. "We just have to wait." Isaac looked at me for a long moment. "Eleanor, what exactly are we waiting for?" I didn't answer. Because some things are better left as questions until they become facts. This is where quiet justice begins. Would you do what Eleanor just did? The night it happened, I was in my bedroom reading when I heard them arrive. Clara's car. Then Nathan's truck. Both pulling into the driveway at 10:30 on a Wednesday night. Unannounced. Unexpected. My heart started racing. This wasn't normal. They never came together anymore. Hadn't spoken to each other in weeks, according to Isaac's information. I heard the front door open. They had keys, of course. This was still technically their father's house in their minds. Voices drifted up the stairs. Angry voices. Clara and Nathan, arguing about something. I crept to the top of the landing, staying in the shadows where the camera Isaac installed could see everything but they couldn't see me. "You've been stealing from the accounts," Clara hissed. "Don't lie to me." I saw the transfers. "You're one to talk," Nathan shot back. "What about the forged power of attorney you tried to file last month?" "That was for her protection." "That was for your bank account." "Admit it." "You want her declared incompetent so you can take everything." "Like you don't?" Silence. Heavy and ugly. Then Clara's voice, quieter now. "Calculated. We could split it. 50-50. If we work together instead of against each other." "What about Mother?" "What about her?" "She's losing her mind anyway. Everyone in town says so. We put her somewhere safe, somewhere supervised, and we manage the estate like Daddy would have wanted." I gripped the railing, listening to my children negotiate my erasure like a business deal. "She won't sign," Nathan said. "I've tried." "She's stubborn." "Then we make her sign. Or we prove she can't make decisions for herself anymore. Either way, we need to act now before she does something stupid with the money." That's when I made my move. Walked down the stairs slowly, deliberately, like a fragile old woman who'd been startled awake. "What are you two doing here so late?" They both jumped. Guilty faces. Fake smiles sliding into place. "Mother, we didn't mean to wake you," Clara said. "We just came by to check on you." "At this hour?" "We were worried," Nathan added. "You haven't been answering your phone."
I hadn't been answering because Isaac told me not to. Let them worry. Let them wonder. I'm fine. You can go home now. Clara stepped closer. "Actually, Mother, we need to talk. About your future. About what's best for you." "I know what's best for me." Nathan moved to block the stairs. Not obviously. Just enough that I'd have to go through him to get back to my bedroom. My pulse quickened. This was it. The moment Isaac had predicted. "We think you should come stay with me for a while," Clara said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Just until we figure things out. I'm not leaving my house." "Mother, you're not safe here alone." I said no. Clara's mask slipped. Just for a second. But I saw it. The anger. The frustration. The hatred. "You don't get to decide anymore," she said coldly. "We're your children. We know what's best. And if you won't cooperate, we'll make you." Nathan pulled papers from his jacket. "The conservatorship documents. Just sign these, Mom. Make this easy." I backed away. They stepped forward, cornering me in my own living room. "Get away from me. Sign the papers." "No." Clara grabbed my arm. Hard. "You're going to sign them, or we'll tell everyone you've completely lost it. We'll have doctors testify. We'll show them all the confused things you've been doing. You won't have a choice." I yanked my arm free. Stumbled. Fell against the coffee table. That's when Nathan saw it. The small camera hidden in the bookshelf. His eyes went wide. "Clara, she's recording us." Everything happened fast then. Clara lunged for the camera. Nathan tried to grab my phone. I screamed. Someone shoved someone. The fire poker fell from its stand near the fireplace. Clara's hand closed around it. You stupid, stupid woman, she snarled. Do you have any idea what you've done? That recording could ruin everything. That's the point, I said quietly. Nathan reached for the poker. Clara yanked it away. They struggled. Yelling. Cursing. Years of resentment exploding in my living room. I ran for the stairs. Made it 3 steps before I heard the sickening crack. Glass shattering. Someone hitting the floor. A scream that wasn't mine. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands. Dialed 911. Someone's in my house. Please, someone broke in. I need help. But even as I said it, I knew. The police were already coming. Because Isaac had called them 10 minutes ago, watching everything unfold through the hidden camera feed on his laptop 2 miles away. The dispatcher's voice was calm. Professional. Ma'am, we already have units at your address. They responded to a call about a murder approximately 8 minutes ago. I looked down the stairs. Clara was on the floor. Not moving. Blood pooling beneath her head. Nathan stood frozen, the fire poker in his hand, his face white as death. The front door burst open. Police flooded in. Isaac behind them, his badge somehow no longer retired, his eyes meeting mine with a look I couldn't read. And in that moment, standing at the top of the stairs in my nightgown, watching my children destroy each other exactly as I'd known they would, I felt something I hadn't felt in 50 years. Power. Did you see this coming? Don't scroll. What would you have done in that moment? The trial lasted 6 weeks. Nathan's lawyer argued self-defense. Said Clara had attacked him. Said it was an accident. Said he never meant for any of it to happen. Clara survived, barely. Traumatic brain injury. She'd never be the same. Never walk right again. Never speak without slurring her words. Poetic justice, some people whispered. I sat in the courtroom every day, playing my part perfectly. The grieving mother. The confused widow. The victim of elder abuse who'd been betrayed by her own children. The prosecutor built the case brick by brick. The recordings of Clara and Nathan discussing how to steal my money. The forged documents. The conservatorship papers they'd tried to force me to sign. The camera footage showing them corner me, threaten me, attack me. This elderly woman, the prosecutor said, gesturing to me in the witness box, was terrorized in her own home by the people who should have protected her. They tried to steal her life, her autonomy, her dignity. And when she fought back with the only weapon she had, the truth, they tried to silence her permanently. I dabbed my eyes with a tissue. Let my voice shake when I testified. But inside, I was calm. Steady. Watching the dominoes fall exactly as Isaac and I had arranged them. The jury took 4 hours to reach a verdict. Nathan was found guilty of assault with a deadly weapon. 5 to 10 years. Clara's fraud charges meant she'd face trial once she recovered enough to stand. If she ever recovered. Their lawyers tried to paint me as manipulative. As calculating. Said I'd set them up. Engineered the whole thing. But who would believe that? Look at me. 73 years old. Frail. Confused. Just a victim who'd gotten lucky enough to install a security camera. After the verdict, Isaac met me outside the courthouse. You did it, he said quietly. I looked up at him. This stranger who'd helped me destroy my own children. Did what? Got justice. Is that what we call it? He studied my face for a long moment. Eleanor, that night. When you fell against the coffee table. When Clara grabbed the poker. Did you? I placed my hand on his arm. Gentle. Weak. I'm just an old woman who got scared, Detective Tate. Nothing more. But as I walked to my car, I leaned close and whispered something only he could hear. It was never an accident. Sometimes justice doesn't roar. It whispers. If you believe that, hit the like button.
People think revenge is loud. They think it's screaming and confrontation and dramatic confessions. They think it's obvious. They're wrong. Real revenge is quiet. It's patient. It's a chess game where your opponent doesn't even know they're playing until checkmate. 3 months after the trial, I sat in my kitchen with Isaac, drinking coffee like we'd done 100 times before. Tell me something, he said. The slippers. Harold's slippers the night he fell. I took a sip of coffee. Didn't look at him. What about them? Where did they come from? He always wore those rubber-soled house shoes. Everyone said so. But that night, he was wearing smooth-bottomed slippers. The kind that slip on hardwood floors. Memory plays tricks on people. Not on me. Isaac leaned back in his chair. I pulled the evidence photos again. Those slippers weren't his usual style. Someone put them there. Someone who knew he'd put them on without thinking. Someone who knew exactly what would happen on those stairs. I met his eyes then. Held his gaze. Are you accusing me of something, detective? I'm not a detective anymore, remember? I'm retired. So what are you? A man trying to understand what really happened in this house. I stood up, walked to the sink, rinsed my cup. Took my time. Let the silence stretch. Harold abused me for 47 years, I said finally, my back still to Isaac. Never hit me. Never left bruises. Just stripped away who I was piece by piece until there was nothing left. Made me believe I was worthless. That I deserved it. That I should be grateful he stayed. I turned around. Looked Isaac dead in the eye. And then I watched my children become him. Watched them try to do the same thing he'd done. Take everything from me. Erase me. Make me disappear. So you fought back. I survived. I moved closer. The night with Clara and Nathan. When they cornered me. When Clara grabbed that poker. Did you notice where I fell? How I stumbled into the coffee table at just the right angle so the camera caught everything. How I knocked the poker stand over so it would be within their reach. Isaac's jaw tightened. Eleanor. You asked me what we were waiting for. Remember? I told you they'd destroy themselves. And they did. I just made sure they had the tools to do it. You orchestrated the whole thing. I created an opportunity. They chose what to do with it. I sat back down, calm as lake water. Just like I created an opportunity for Harold that night. Put the slippers by his bed. Mentioned I thought I heard something downstairs. Watched him rush out without thinking, without changing into his safe shoes. That's murder. That's justice. My voice didn't waver. Justice doesn't always wear a badge, Detective Tate. Sometimes it wears a nightgown and waits 50 years for the right moment. Isaac stared at me. Horror and something else, maybe respect, maybe fear, warring in his expression. You used me, he said quietly. You used me to help you destroy your own children. I used you to protect myself. Everything we did was legal. The recordings, the evidence, the camera. We documented real crimes. Real threats. Real abuse. I'm not the villain here. Then what are you? I stood up again. Walked to the mirror hanging by the kitchen door. Looked at my reflection. An old woman. Harmless. Forgettable. I'm someone who stopped being a victim, I whispered. Justice doesn't always wear a badge, detective. I turned back to him one last time. It wears my face. Would you call this revenge or justice? Comment your thoughts below. The lakeside cabin became my sanctuary. After the trial, after the whispers died down, after Clara was moved to a long-term care facility and Nathan started his sentence, I sold the house on Lakeview Drive. That monument to Harold's success and my silence. I bought a small place on the water. 1 bedroom. Big windows. A porch where I could watch the sunrise without ghosts haunting every corner. The town still talked, of course. Small towns always do. That's Eleanor Whitmore, they'd whisper at the grocery store. The widow whose children tried to steal everything. Can you imagine? Your own kids. Some of the whispers were kinder. Poor woman. What she's been through. But some were darker. I heard things about that night. About how convenient it all was. About how she had cameras set up like she knew what was coming. Let them whisper. Let them wonder. I'd spent a lifetime caring what people thought. Being small so others could feel big. Staying quiet so I wouldn't upset anyone. I was done with that. Isaac still came by. Every Tuesday morning. We'd sit on the porch with coffee and watch the water. We never talked about what I'd confessed in my kitchen. He never reported it. Never investigated further. Maybe he understood in some way I couldn't explain. Maybe he'd seen enough real monsters in his career to know when to look the other way. Or maybe he knew the truth about justice, that sometimes it lives in gray spaces the law can't touch. How are you sleeping? He asked one morning, months after everything had settled. Better than I have in 50 years. No guilt? I thought about that. Really thought about it. Harold made me feel guilty for existing. For breathing. For taking up space. I carried that guilt like a weight for decades. I looked at Isaac. I'm done carrying things that don't belong to me. He nodded slowly. And your children? They made their choices. I just made sure those choices had consequences. A boat drifted by on the lake. Someone's laughter carried across the water. The locals say this place is haunted, Isaac said. Say they see lights in the windows at night. Hear things. Every place is haunted if you've lived long enough. I took a sip of coffee. But ghosts can't hurt you unless you let them. We sat in comfortable silence after that. That afternoon, after Isaac left, I took a walk along the shore. The same path I used to walk when everything was falling apart. When I was still pretending to be weak. Still playing the victim. A young woman jogged past, headphones in, not seeing me. An old man fished from the dock, peaceful and alone. Life moving forward. People living their stories. Some happy. Some tragic. Some just surviving. I thought about Clara in her care facility, unable to walk without help, her sharp mind dulled by trauma and medication. I thought about Nathan in his cell, losing years he'd never get back. And I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No regret. Just the quiet certainty that I'd done what needed to be done. That evening, I made dinner for myself. Just pasta and vegetables. Nothing fancy. But I ate at the table by the window, watching the sunset paint the lake orange and gold. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Mrs. Whitmore? A man's voice. Professional. Cautious. Who's asking? My name is Detective Marcus Chin. I work cold cases for the state police. I'm calling about your husband's death. Harold Whitmore. There are some questions that have come up during a routine review. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. I looked out at the lake, at the peaceful water reflecting the dying light. I'd be happy to answer any questions, Detective. But it'll have to wait until tomorrow. I'm just sitting down to dinner. Of course. I'll call back in the morning. I hung up. Finished my meal. Washed the dishes. Made tea. Then I sat on the porch and waited for the knock at my door that I knew would come before morning. Because Isaac had warned me weeks ago. They're looking into Harold's death again. The timeline doesn't add up. Someone noticed. And I'd told him what I'm telling you now. I'm not running. I'm not hiding. I did what I did, and I'd do it again. 3 hours later, headlights cut through the darkness. A car pulled up to my cabin. Isaac got out. Not as a friend this time. As a detective who'd unretired for one last case. He walked slowly to my porch, his face unreadable in the shadows. Eleanor. Isaac. They know. About the slippers. About the timing. About everything. I nodded. Took a sip of my tea. I know. He climbed the steps. Stood at my door, hand on the frame like he was deciding something. I should arrest you right now. Yes. You should. But first I need to know. Was any of it real? The friendship. The coffee. The mornings by the lake. I looked up at him. This man who'd helped me survive. Who'd given me the tools to fight back. Who'd seen me when everyone else looked away. Every bit of it was real. I set down my tea. That's what makes it complicated. Isaac pulled out handcuffs. Held them in his hand like they weighed 1,000 pounds. Detective Chin is at the station. He's got evidence. Enough to charge you with Harold's murder. I understand. Eleanor, why? Why did you confess to me? You could have kept quiet. Lived out your life in peace. No one would have known. I smiled. Really smiled. Because peace built on silence isn't peace at all, Isaac. I learned that the hard way. And because some stories need to be told, even if the ending isn't happy. Would you answer the door, or let the past stay buried? Tell me below. They charged me with second-degree murder for Harold's death. My lawyer argued diminished capacity. Decades of abuse. Battered woman syndrome. All the technical terms for what happens when someone breaks you slowly over 50 years. The jury deliberated for 3 days. In the end, they couldn't convict. Too much reasonable doubt. Too many years had passed. Too many missing pieces that could never be proven. But everyone knew. The truth spread through town like wildfire. Eleanor Whitmore didn't just survive her abusive husband. She planned it. Executed it. Got away with it for over a year. Some people called me a murderer. Said I should rot in prison. Said justice had failed. Others called me a hero. Said I'd done what needed to be done. Said sometimes the system doesn't protect the vulnerable, so the vulnerable have to protect themselves. I didn't care what they called me. I sat in my cabin by the lake and watched the seasons change. Summer to fall. Fall to winter. Winter to spring. Isaac came by less often. The weight of what he knew, what he'd been part of, changed something between us. But he still came. Still drank coffee on my porch. Still sat in silence while the water lapped at the shore. Do you regret it? He asked one morning, almost a year after the trial. After everything had finally settled into its new shape. Which part? Any of it. I thought about Harold at the top of those stairs. About the slippers I'd chosen so carefully. About the moment I heard him fall and knew I was finally free. I thought about Clara and Nathan, my children who'd learned cruelty from the best teacher. Who'd tried to erase me just like their father had. I thought about every year I'd spent being small. Being quiet. Being nothing. I regret that it had to happen at all, I said finally. I regret that the world is a place where women have to plan murders to escape abuse. Where children see their parents as ATM machines instead of people. Where justice only comes if you're clever enough and ruthless enough to take it yourself. That's not an answer. Yes, it is. I looked at Isaac. You asked me once what justice looks like. I told you it wears my face. That's still true. But now I understand something I didn't then. What's that?
Justice isn't pretty. It's not clean or simple or satisfying. It's messy and complicated and leaves scars on everyone it touches. But sometimes it's the only option left. Isaac nodded slowly. Stood up to leave like he always did. But this time I stopped him. I'm writing it all down, I said. Everything. The truth about Harold. About Clara and Nathan. About what I did and why I did it. I'm putting it in a book that'll be published after I'm gone. Why? Because someone needs to hear it. Some woman sitting in a house right now, feeling small and trapped and worthless. Some person being erased by people who claim to love them. They need to know they're not alone. That survival takes many forms. That strength doesn't always look like what we expect. They'll call it a confession. Good. Let them. I'm 74 years old. I've got maybe 10 good years left if I'm lucky. I'm not spending them afraid of the truth. After Isaac left, I sat on my porch and watched the sun set over the lake. A woman jogged past. Headphones in. Free and alive and moving through the world like she owned it. I hope she never knows what it's like to be Harold's wife. To be Clara's mother. To choose between surviving and being destroyed. But if she does, I hope my story finds her. I hope it whispers what I learned too late and paid too much to understand. You don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to be loud to be strong. You don't have to be obvious to fight back. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is wait. Plan. Survive. And when the moment comes, when your abuser reaches for those slippers or your children corner you in your living room, you make sure the consequences fall where they belong. Not on you. Never again on you. I finished my tea. Went inside. Sat down at my desk. And I started writing. Because this story isn't just mine anymore. It belongs to everyone who's ever been made to feel small. Everyone who's ever been told they don't matter. Everyone who's ever had to become someone they never wanted to be just to survive. For them, I'll tell the truth. Even if it's ugly. Even if it's dark. Even if it makes people uncomfortable. Especially then. The lake outside my window reflected the stars. Peaceful. Quiet. Beautiful. Just like justice, when you know where to look. Before you go, if Eleanor's story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories of quiet justice. Your support helps keep these lessons alive. Turn on notifications so you never miss our next story, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters, and your story might inspire someone else who needs to hear it. We're building a community here, a family of people who understand that strength comes in many forms. Join us. The next story drops soon, and trust me, you won't want to miss it.